Today's show is brought to you in part by the King Trumbull Toilets. And friends, remember the King promise. We'll change our seat when you change yours.
This Seiko SKX has a blue face, and this SKX has a black face. This watch is two-faced, and we're going to be talking about that and more right here on Killing Time. Welcome to Killing Time. I'm your host, Rick Cashman, and this is not the way it was supposed to be. We were supposed to be in a studio, but where are we? We're in my den. That's the kitchen back there. So if anybody wants to wander back there, make a ham sandwich or some pastrami or liverwurst, but I would stay away from the potatoes. We have potatoes in there, they've got the toothpicks in them, and they put them in a glass, and there's water in there, and they're growing all sorts of stuff underneath. We don't know. It's like a third grade science experiment. We don't know how long they've been in there, and we don't know who put them there either. It's kind of a strange thing. But we've got a great show lined up for you. We are going to turn the clocks back, and we're going to go to the early 1960s and relive the Cubanian Missile Crisis here at the Hickory Bench Playhouse with the award-winning series A Stitch in Time. And we're also going to introduce to you the new Tony Soprano line of watches. Tony will be here to do a watch review. And why don't we do that right now?
I like the name of the show, Killing Time. It has a nice ring to it. Okay, listen up. I want to talk to you about watches. I got into watches after the Lufthansa heist. Fetched a few Omegas, a Rolex here and there. You know what my problem is? This whole social distancing. It's put a real crimp in my business. Nothing is coming off the trucks, if you get my drift. I can't live with that. The crew has to keep burning. So I put them in the old abandoned warehouse on Santo Traficante Boulevard. They're in there hammering out new Rolexes. Take a look at this. I call it my Daytona Fugazi. It has a front and a back. What do you think of this? I could sell these Fugazis at the bada ting. Put it in an arcade game and call it timeout, because you gotta get the watch out of the machine. You see what I did there? Oh, come on. You know how the game goes. A claw on a crane comes down, and you have to grab the watch and throw it down a hole. Kind of like what I do in my business.
So the topic of today's show is the Seiko SKX, and why in the world did Seiko dump it? Now, I know we're a little late to the dance. This happened in the summer of last year, but we weren't on the air. We couldn't be at the dance, so we thought we'd throw in our 2 cents. And I can't understand it. I think this is a classic boneheaded move. I've never been really impressed with the way Seiko did their marketing. I don't understand the Grand Seiko. I mean, you want to go up against Rolex and Patek? Come up with a name. Seiko has this reputation for being a great, almost entry-level watch. Solid, good styling, dependable, reliable. But, if you're being robbed in the city and somebody says, give me your money and your watch, and you give them your money, you hand over your Seiko, they might say, keep it. It was a watch you really didn't care that much about if you smashed it up against something or you lost it. It was just a great entry-level watch. Didn't cost you a lot of money, but you were proud to have it on your wrist. But it's not a watch name, a brand that really matches Rolex, for example. So, when Toyota came up with, a car to compete with BMW and Mercedes and Nissan did that, they didn't call it the Grand Toyota. There was no Grand Nissan on the drawing board. They created Infiniti and Lexus, Honda, Acura. But Seiko puts Grand Seiko. It's like the new and improved slogan for the watch industry, Don't believe your eyes. This is much better than the regular Seiko. I might as well put that on the dial. So here they are dumping the SKX, which is a watch icon. Who in their right mind does that? You know how difficult it is to create an icon? Companies would love to create an icon. Seiko creates one, and then they say, okay, I think we've had enough of that. I mean, were they in the boardroom, having some sandwiches, kind of shooting the breeze, and somebody said, anybody got any ideas? And somebody kind of raised their hand and said, why don't we dump the Seiko SKX? And were there other people there saying, like it was Family Feud? Good answer, good answer. I just run it up the old flagpole, see how it waves. They needed Josh Baskin in that meeting. The kid from Big was there, and he raised his hand and said, I don't get it. I don't get it. They needed Josh Baskin there because I don't get it. Let's take a look at this watch that, again, is an iconic watch. It's a watch that's been around for almost 25 years. It's a watch that people would howl at the moon at because it had all these, people wanted to have a sapphire crystal and they wanted to improve the bracelet and so forth, but it didn't matter. They bought it anyway. There were people who bought it for $250, spent another $250 to get it to look different, but based on the same watch. If you've created a product like that, why in the world do you dump it? Let's take a look at it. Okay, well, here they are. This is the Seiko SKX, and this is the 009. Comes with a blue face and a Pepsi bezel. And then this is the 007, black face and black bezel. 007, it should have been in a James Bond movie, I always love the way James Bond introduced himself. Bond. James Bond. I can't do that. My name is Rich Cashman. What am I going to say? Cashman. Rich Cashman. It ain't going to fly. But this is a terrific looking watch. There are people who complain about all sorts of things. Let's kind of go over it real quick. They complain that it doesn't have a sapphire crystal. Well, this is a dive watch. When the Navy SEALs were using it and they were going underwater, they didn't want to hit it up against some coral and have the thing shatter. When you're down there recreationally, you're going, oh, okay, look at the fish, look at the coral. Oh, wow. You don't want your watch to go ahead and split open like that and ruin the watch and ruin your afternoon, So I understand why they didn't put a sapphire crystal. Would it look better? Yeah, but that's really for people who aren't going blah, 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 underwater. It's good to 660 feet, way more than people will dive. Most people only dive to like 100 feet. And so it's certainly, you don't have to worry about it being, the water resistancy. So that's fine. People complain about, hear that? They complain about the bracelet, the hollow end links, they don't like that. And it's kind of flexible and so forth. To me, that's just part of the personality of the watch. It's like buying a 1947 Volkswagen. Do you want a big window in the back? No, you want that split window in the back. It'd be much better if you had a big window in the back. You could see more, but no, that's the personality of the car. You're buying the car in part because of that split back window. And that's one of the things that makes, I think, this watch so sort of classic and unique. It has real personality. People complain that the bezel and chaptering, they don't match up, and that's true. There are some, quality control is really bad. There are some that leave the factory and you kind of go, what in the world were they thinking, There was nobody there with a white jacket on going and looking at that, or a jeweler's loop saying, yeah, none of that stuff. They're just kind of running them out the factory. But, you have to find one that has it's pretty well lined up. This one's pretty good. The other thing people complain about all the time is that you can't wind them. You have to do the Seiko shuffle. Now, I get it, that's true. And the hacking thing. Well, Seiko, this is an in-house Seiko movement. It's the 7S26 movement. And according to Seiko stats, accuracy is between like 20 and 40 seconds a day. So what are you going to do? Hack your watch, in the morning and then 3 hours later, hack it again to keep it accurate? Or are you part of some secret society? You are linked up with Moose and Squirrel, and you're going up against Mr. Big, Boris Bedanov and Natasha, and you have to go ahead and make sure your watches are synced with Moose and Squirrel. I doubt that that's going on. So it doesn't really bother me, but you can hack these watches. You can. Now, how do you do that? Well, I'm going to unscrew it here, and boom. I'm going to take the round out. Now, take a look. See the way it's moving? Bum, bum, bum. You can go backwards. And if you go backwards, see the way it's going backwards? You can actually get it to stop. And you have to say nice things to it. It doesn't happen automatically. Ha! You didn't think it was ever going to happen, did you? So it's not like just pulling out the stem and it stops, but it does hack. If you have to have it hack, you just have to coax it. You have to do, some, and there you go. And to get it to work right, you just go ahead and take the thing and you go boom like that, and there you go. Ha! All right, so it's not a great way to hack the watch, but if you want to hack the watch, if you're going crazy, if it's bothering you, if you're waking up in the middle of the night at 3 o'clock in the morning in a cold sweat saying, I have to be able to hack the watch, you can go ahead and do that. So this is it. I'm going to put it on my wrist here. Take a look. It's just a great looking watch. Why in the world would you dump this watch? You got me. Look at that. That is terrific. The black face and the black bezel, I think, are a little bit more popular. Here's the Pepsi. Got to take a look at this. If you don't have one of these watches in your collection, I would, feet don't fail me now, I would go ahead and find a way to pick one up. Look at that. Look at that. It's just a great looking watch. It's when people just buying their first watch, they would ask people who collected watches, they say, well, what kind of a watch should I buy to start off? First, automatic movement. They'd say, I would buy a Seiko SKX. And then they might point to their wrist and say, see, it looks like that because they're wearing one. This is a great watch, and I just think it's a boneheaded move to have dropped an iconic timepiece. If you think it's going to go out of style, just let it go out of style on its own. I'm going to make a prediction here. 5 years from now, Seiko is going to come back with a remake of this product. And it'll be, maybe a limited run and so forth, and they'll charge you $400, something like that. Well, that's it for the Seiko SKX, and that story could go on and on and on. I don't know why they dropped it. You create an iconic product, leave it alone. If it ain't broke, don't try and fix it. Right now, we're going to turn the clocks back in time. We're going to return to the 1960s and relive the Cubanian Missile Crisis on A Stitch in Time, starring Ivy Austin and Rich Mullins.
Time now for the Hickory Bench Playhouse award-winning series, A Stitch in Time. Today, we return to the 1960s. Juan Lupe Castro was stockpiling nuclear missiles just 90 miles off our shore. It's October 16th, 1962, and you are there.
Take out the papers and the trash.
Take out the papers and the trash.
Or you don't get no spending
Or you don't get no spending cash. Mr. President, excuse me. I have some photographs I'd like to show you.
More confidential top secret shots of Maryland. Let me see.
It's Russia and Cubania.
Oh, no, don't tell me. Nikita is looking for more tickets to the Magic Kingdom. The last time he got us all into trouble singing It's a Small World After All and then pinching Minnie Mouse on a Mini.
Do you see what's going on in the bushes?
Oh, I can see Castro taking a leak on the bananas.
Jack?
Who's that? I've heard that annoying voice before.
Mr. President, it's the First Lady.
Oh, she wasn't the First Lady today.
Jack, what are those photographs you're holding?
Madam First Lady, we have photographic proof the Cubanians are hiding missiles in the bushes.
Do you mean to say the Cubanians have nuclear missiles 90 miles off our shore? Jack, What are you going to do?
Well, give me a minute. I'm not good on my feet.
Jack, you're the president. You can't dilly-dally. This is a time for action, not fiddle-faddle.
Actually, I was thinking of action with fiddle-faddle.
Mr. President, the press is in the briefing room. Go in there, but don't be a party pooper.
Ladies and gentlemen, the President of the United States.
Pick a card, any card. Don't show me.
Mr. President, what's this all about?
I just thought I'd run through a little presidential sleight of hand before I lower the boom.
Lower the boom?
Yeah, that's the way we used to talk back in World War II, back in the good old days.
We're not at war.
Well, just give me a minute. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to direct your attention to this map over here.
Why does it say Six Flags over Cubania?
No, just forget about that. It was the best we could do on short notice. I want everybody's attention here. I want you to look very carefully at that map and tell me what you see in the bushes.
Are we playing Where's Waldo?
I see it. It's Castro taking a leak on the bananas.
Yes, Castro's doing number one. I can't believe it.
Mr. President, do you mind if I change the subject?
Oh, I wish you would.
Mr. President, if you don't do something, we're going to face another Red October.
Mr. President, there are missiles in those bushes.
Bingo, 5 across.
So what's this administration gonna do?
You mean this very minute?
Yes, this very minute.
Well, let me begin by saying that the First Lady is currently at this very moment discussing the situation with a group of visiting dignitaries in the White House.
No further questions.
Ladies and gentlemen, we now take you to the front lawn of the White House, and you are there.
Now, I want you to listen up. Stop that! You kids are giving me a headache.
Maybe it's a tumor.
It's not a tumor.
Kids, what would you do, say for example, if the Cubanians hid nuclear missiles in the bushes and then fired a bunch of them at your school?
I'd wet my pants.
Well, after wetting your pants, I want you to think duck and cover. When the big blast comes, the big mushroom hits, I want you to get underneath your desks and stay away from glass.
You have to be kidding.
No, I'm dead serious.
Let me see if I understand this. The Cubanians are going to blow up New York City. 8 million people are going to die, except for 25 kids in Mrs. Becker's 5th grade class who have their heads underneath their desks and are staying away from glass?
Stop whining. You kids are soft. You lack discipline. Now, who is your daddy and what does he do?
I'm out of here.
Today's Station Time has been brought to you by Juan Lupe Cigars for that fresh, clean taste of the Cubanian countryside going up in smoke. Next time, light up a Lupe.
Well, that's it for today's show. And if you liked it, do us a favor. You want to hit the subscribe button and the like button? That would be terrific. I mean, even if you thought it was mediocre, what does it take? You just kind of go, oh, like that. It would help us out because with a certain number of subscribers, we can actually move out of my den where we've got the kitchen in the background and the potato and the refrigerator with the stuff growing, and go into the city and record at the YouTube studios, which would be terrific because you get to see Ivy Austin and Rich Muen's work, and we can invite guests on. It'd be Mondo Bapo, you know. Anything's better than you know. It's like you're in the penalty box in a hockey game. So if you could do that, that would be great. Until next time, we'll keep the light on for you, and you and I will meet, and we'll just go out there and kill some time.
Today's Killin' Time has been brought to you by your local Red Wagon Motor Inn with free ice in the lobby and jumper cables at the front desk. I'm your host, Tiffany Carmichael, who reminds you to keep your powder dry and aim low. They could be crawling. Good night, everybody.